Let's take a deep breath, talk about something much more positive, a World Series, which I think is going to be really competitive. Everybody thinks the Dodgers, they're Toronto, Vlad, Springer, starting pitching, home field advantage. Toronto is a handful. And Dave Roberts, manager of the Dodgers, is joining us live. It's interesting. We all know in baseball, good to see you again, Skip. Great to see you, Dave, as always.
Thanks, Colin.
We all know in baseball that, momentum's the next day's pitcher. But there are little bits of wisdom you can take, even though every postseason run is different. Last year, you guys were up against it. I can remember bullpen games against the Padres, and I'm not sure the Dodgers are getting out of this series. You've been more dominant this year. Is there anything, though, Dave, you can take from last year's playoff run, little notes or bits of wisdom, and say, guys, remember that from last year to this year?
You know what I think what it comes down to, and I think a lot of people talk about, I absolutely agree with your momentum is next day starting pitcher, and certainly the Blue Jays have got some momentum. I feel we've got momentum. I think what I've taken away is the urgency piece of it, and how do you get to the urgency piece? And I think the way I frame it to our guys is we're in a street fight. And I think that when you have that street fight mentality, that lends itself to urgency in every pitch, every play. And you kind of take the momentum, embrace it, and don't let off the gas. And I think right now, if you see our ball club play, we're playing with that street fighter mentality versus that kind of seasoned boxing mentality.
Yeah. It's funny, the Blake Snell Yoshi. So I went on the air, full disclosure. I said, I love Dave Roberts. I would have let Snell go because I just want to win the first game of the series. I don't care. Yoshi, I said, okay, we got one in the bag. I go to the pen on that. I thought it was really cool for you to come out and say, some of this is gut feeling, guys. I'm sitting there on the steps. So let's talk a little bit about that, because baseball managers, it could be you or Aaron Boone. It could be anybody. You guys get criticized for those moments. It's the seventh. That's when all of us think, oh, we should be manager. What is that guy doing? For you, you mentioned that you were watching Snell, or you watch Yossi. Do you talk to him during a game, or do you want to stay away from that? Is it kind of a body language sense on, I'm going to let him go or I'm going to pull him?
It's a knowing the player. It's knowing the player. That's my job essentially. And I think the thing is that, my job is to know my players. I definitely don't get it right all the time. But I feel like my process and kind of how I know how to manage guys for the long term is pretty sound. I think the great thing, Colin, about baseball is because if you look at, basketball is so quick. You can't coach basketball in real time. You can't change defense as a fan, right? Football, you could probably do it a little bit, but baseball is something where every fan has that opportunity to essentially manage. But I do feel like trusting my players, knowing my coaches, I've got a sound process. But I was right there with you. And then that Blake Snell thing was 50-50. And, right now we're watching Roki, and to put him in the pen, that's a gut feeling that I feel like I can trust him in big spots where that wasn't easy. And right now, I trust my players. I love my players. And I think, again, we're playing good baseball.
It's interesting. I said before the playoffs, I said in my lifetime, I've seen teams with great bullpens win the World Series. I think the Royals years ago had it, and they didn't have necessarily a great roster, but if they led in the sixth, they won the game. I said, I've never seen a team with a shaky bullpen win a World Series. I said, I don't think the Dodgers can. And then suddenly, the bullpen gets solved. Roki moves to the bullpen. Take me to the part in the season. It could have been you and Andrew Friedman. It could have been you and your pitching coaches and talking, that you just decided, listen, we got to make some alterations. We got to pivot here. He's young. He's got great stuff. We're gonna move him. Like, were those ongoing, or was there an epiphany or a moment that you just said, we can't win a pennant with this current bullpen? How did that process work?
You know what? I think that, okay, there's two parts of this. I think with Roki, if you look back at April, where you see there were visuals, photographs of him, teary-eyed in the pen, just distraught, disappointed, scared, worried, all that stuff, right? And then, so just trying to get him back to health, trying to nurse his mindset, his physical being back was number one. And then as he kind of made his way back and trying to build him up, appreciating the fact that we've already had enough starters. So we weren't going to use him in that starter role. And then going to him with me and Andrew and the pitching guys and saying, hey, man, you have an opportunity. If you want to take on a bullpen role, don't know what the role is going to look like. This is an opportunity for you to impact 2025 and basically write your 2025 season. He was like, I'm in. And then so we look at the calendar. We had literally 2 opportunities in the regular season to give him an opportunity to pitch out of the pen for us. It showed really well. And then I think in the Cincinnati wild card series, there was a spot that I was like, you know what? We're either going to sink or swim. We got to see what it looks like. Yep. And I ran him out there. He performed. And then from then, it's just like the rest is history. He started getting some momentum. And even in that I think it was I don't know if it was a Brewer outing where it didn't look good or the Philly outing. And, I was determined to run him back out there and not run from him so he could kind of keep that confidence. And so I give the organization, Roki, a lot of credit for kind of riding the ship. And then the other part of it is like, when you're looking at the postseason, you're trying to get the best arms you can for the postseason. So, using Glasnow out of the pen, using Emmett Sheehan out of the pen. So it wasn't really kind of what girl brought us to the dance as far as the pen is who we're going to go with. But at the end of the day, though, Colin, I've said it, we're going to go with our best arms. And if you can get your best arms, and right now our best arms are the starting pitchers. If those guys can take down the most outs, we're going to be in a good spot.
Yeah, it's funny about analytics. The term I always use is manalytics, because I think in baseball, when the postseason comes, the numbers are the numbers, but there are moments when you're like, I may have to use a starter in the pen. Guys, all hands on deck. So do you find yourself with analytics, they're still important, but like I always say this about the NBA, the referees stop calling fouls in the postseason. So the analytics get all screwed up. They just let them wrestle. And all of a sudden you don't get to the free throw line. In baseball, you manage differently in the postseason. I mean, you want Snell going. I mean, to me, I watch you and I'm like, you wouldn't have let Yoshi go. You would have gone to the pen if that game's in June, would you not?
Absolutely. It's funny is that word analytics, and I somehow got tied to analytics, and I don't use my eyes or my gut. But I think that I managed and I watched the game. And so I think in the postseason, I'm not saying put analytics aside, but you have got to bet on players. You've got to bet on people. And you've got to bet on heartbeat. And in that moment, I do think that analytics, the place for analytics for me is the long haul 162.
Yes.
At the end of the day, it plays out. But when you're talking about one moment in time, is that pitcher going to get that hitter out? Is that hitter going to get a hit or take a good at bat against that pitcher? Or are there 9 guys that I'm running out there? Do I feel has the best chance to score runs against that particular pitcher? That's a coin flip. That's heads or tails. And that's what I bet on. That's how I manage in the postseason.
Well, we've seen this also. I thought it was interesting. The Mariners had Julio Rodriguez and Cal Raleigh at the top of their order, and Shohei Ohtani, obviously, leading off. And I've said this. I zone in on baseball during the postseason. In the regular season, it's almost like the radio sound of my summer. I have the games on. I'm in and out of stuff. When I grew up, I mean, you had Johnny Bench was batting cleanup. Pudge is batting cleanup, right? Like you have your big Barry Bonds, 3 or 4. Now you got power guys hitting toward the top of the lineup, which I would imagine is they get more at bats. But it is interesting how, I mean, that's my take is I want Ohtani up as much as I can get him. Do you love that, or is just that the reality of the way the game is played? Because I kind of love my big bombs. I like him in the 3, 4, 5 spot. How do you land on that?
I love the way, and I think for me, it's like anything where you want to continue to evolve and grow. Where when I was growing up, as you were, same time period, Shohei would be hitting, 3 or 4. But I think that the way that understanding that you want to get your best hitters as many at-bats as possible. That's how you win baseball games. And I can tell, Bruce Bochy right now, or Jim Tracy right now, he should have hit me leadoff versus Randy Johnson. If I'm going to play center field, I should have hit ninth. And those are things that you've got to evolve. And Johnny Bench facing Nolan Ryan, maybe Johnny could have hit fifth or sixth. And maybe, but that's the way the game has evolved. And I do think that you got to kind of appreciate that. And so I just don't want to be beholden to one lineup.
Yeah.
I think our guys have evolved, but I do feel that, having Shohei at the top, Mookie too, I flip Freddie and Will Smith, Teo and things like that. Cause then it's kind of, the little, we can go deeper, Colin, where it's like you get a tough lefty to give a tax to get to Freddie a third time. Those are little nuances of setting the lineup. But I do think that having your best hitters take the most at-bats makes sense.
Yeah, and by the way, it does help that Mookie and Shohei also have wheels, so they can move. That helps as well. It is okay, right?
It's okay. Here's the thing, is that everyone trolls me. And so I figured, you know what? I'm going to flip it on its head and troll some people that are trying to create this crazy narrative that the Dodgers are ruining baseball. I will tell you this, Colin, and you know this. Baseball viewership is at an all-time high. Baseball players are better than they've ever been. We are going to have more eyeballs watching this World Series than ever because of the country of Canada, the U.S., and Japan, and beyond, right? So obviously, the Dodgers are not ruining baseball. It's in a great state. And I was just kind of taking a dig at these crazy people that say that what we do, and I think we do it really well, we're ruining baseball. So that was my little dig.
Yeah, by the way, I said this. Tommy Edman was hitting .265 for the Cardinals. You got him. He becomes the NLCS MVP. Max Muncy was cut by the A's. Now he leads the Dodgers in all-time home runs. This idea that it's just money, it's research, it's development, it's scouting, it's managing. I've always said that. I said this earlier today. There's an anti-Californian sentiment in this country sometimes. Everybody picks on California. The weather's great, the mountains, the beaches. The truth is, it's a very likable team. I believe the reason Roki will take a bullpen role, I truly believe this, is because he knows there's no ego. And he knows you could go to Shohei and say, I'm batting you third tonight. I think you've created, I've said this, the Yankees or the Astros, you can hate those guys. This is not a hateable team. And I think, to some degree, I think Roki says, yeah, I'll do it. And part of it is, that's the culture that you've created, is it not?
It is, Colin. And that's the biggest compliment I can get. Because we have great players, we have a great organization, but I feel that in the long season to be really good every year, to have guys buy in is what a lot of head coaches and managers talk about, to get superstars to buy into whatever you ask of them, and to be selfless. That's the secret sauce. And for me as a manager, that's something I'm really proud of. So I appreciate you bringing that to light.
Finally, just one more. I'm only going to ask, it's not a favor, but just consider if you've got an open base, the game is tied and George Springer's coming up, just consider walking him. Just consider that you don't have to pitch to him. I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but Toronto is really good. I mean, I know you've watched them. I think this matchup, what concerns you about the Jays?
You know what? They're really athletic. I think that you mentioned Springer, who's a big game player. He's on a heater right now, had a great, last couple months. That guy right there, Vladimir, scares the heck out of me. And they're just a gritty group. They're very similar to our club, and they're tough. I think Ross Atkins, I think Mark Shapiro, they've done a great job with this club. And, Yusevich, we don't know him, so there's some unfamiliarity there. But like you said, it's going to be a great series. Joe Davis, I talked to the other day, said he's never heard a louder stadium than he heard here at the Rogers Center. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great. I think this.